Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, welcome in Wolves fans. It's Chris with you once again on Daily Wolves, and I'm flying solo today, and it's probably going to be not a super long episode, unless of course I get carried away in a ramble, because I'm coming to you with some thoughts following the defeat away to West Ham 2-1. It's ended. And at this point, it's another frustrating evening. I mean, once again, same old that we've seen pretty much all season long. We've conceded again from a set piece. Once again, we equalise and give away a goal within minutes. It's just a rinse and repeat pattern at this point. And this was a lot of discussion going into this about both managers, about being the El Sakiko or whatever you want to call it, and Lopetegui coming out on top just around. I mean, it was hardly a classic affair by any means, but watching it from a Wolves perspective, it was just another dire performance. There was moments of, as there's been all season, there's moments of the odd glimpse of quality. We scored yet another delightfully beautiful goal, and Doc, always a fox in the box. He's got a great finish on him when he's in a pinch, and I'd always put money on him to score when he's given the right opportunity. But my word, guys, it's just depressing at this point. And it's late, and obviously this is all coming raw from the heart, so it's not going to be necessarily the most technical analysis. But watching it, I don't know about you, it felt like, again, we've mentioned the same old. I mean, 11 corners to West Ham, 0 to Wolves. There was periods it just felt like we couldn't get away from our end of the pitch, and so slow to push out. I mean, so slow to push out from those set piece situations. Once again, VAR has, I don't want to give too much thought to the fact that would make a difference, because I don't necessarily think it would. I think overall the performance is still not good enough to be clinging on to VAR as a reason that, Gary O'Neill will, quite rightfully in his post-match comments, mentioning that we should have had penalties. We arguably should have had at least one, possibly two. The penalty call against Bellegarde that the ref on the pitch didn't give, VAR have looked at it, and the replays show that the defender stands on his foot, like fully stands on his foot. And we've seen penalties given in the last few seasons, and this one, for people that, and against us, where players have like fractionally touched someone's toe or shin by like the minutest of margins, and people have thrown themselves over and it's given. And this is a full-on step on the foot and nothing given. I mean, it's just that's almost a separate tangent, just because VAR in itself is like this whole big debate that we've been on about for years. And obviously Wolves, the only club in the summer to stand up and call against it, and here we are once again being looked over for a really obvious decision. But I kind of want to push that to the side, because I feel like that's all detracting from what we are seeing on the pitch from a Wolves perspective, in terms of just another dire performance. And at this point, it really does feel like, the crowds and the press and everyone expects Gary O'Neill to move on, especially after that. I'm of the belief now as well that it is severely time to move on. But whether or not it's going to happen, I think the problem is who is going to take the poison chalice right now, because arguably the issues that we are discussing are, higher up in the manner in which that the club is being run, in terms of recruitment, in terms of finance. All discussions going around are that the likes of David Moyes and Potter have been approached and both said no, because the financial restraints that the club wants to work in is not suitable. And so I don't blame them. But then who does that leave you with? And who do you trust to go into what's left of the season with such a tough battle? And most importantly, I mean, the most worrying thing again is now what's happening within the squad and the emotion running over anyone who was there or watching online for long enough. If you didn't switch off like immediately before it ended or at the final whistle, Mario Lemina getting in a tussle with Bowen right after the game, and then it all kind of exploding. And then he started kind of pushing at, other Wolves players and even some of the coaches who were trying to calm him down, or after it looked like it had all stopped, he's then pushing at other Wolves coaches and people and arguing with his own teammates. And just, it's like the complete opposite end of what we saw when he was crying on the pitch earlier in the season with one of those earlier defeats when that was really too soon. Now, yes, he clearly cares to some extent, but as captain and as a professional, it's just not on, and it's all kind of it's just a sign that things are falling apart completely. That the squad is losing it. The calmness, the control, everything has gone. It just looks embarrassing. And at this point, I mean, I've been saying for the last few games, he needs to be on the bench. He's not playing to his level. I know we saw a beautiful pass for a goal against Southampton, against Fulham. But overall, though, his performances this season have not been to his standard. And I feel like the emotion is just getting the better of him. And we can't afford that right now. We cannot afford people to be literally losing their heads when we are up against it. Going into these pressure games, the next one against Ipswich, which we have to win if we're going to stand any chance of staying in touching distance of everyone else, because we are at risk of being cut adrift, then someone like Mario Lemina at this point for me can't be in the starting lineup. He's not thinking clearly or acting clearly at this point, and I don't trust him to be in the right mindset to get us through these tough games. Whether no one, I don't see Gary O'Neill taking the captaincy off him. I don't see Gary O'Neill benching him, to be honest, but I think I would at this point. I think you behave like that, and the struggles that we're seeing with him on the pitch, I think he needs to come out of the lineup. It was interesting before the game to see, in terms of the lineups, if we rewind a bit, obviously we saw Sam Johnston come back into goal, which we all spoke about before the game in the previews about the fact he probably would at this point with all the mistakes that Jose Sarr has had in the last couple of games. Interestingly, Sarr not even on the bench, though, left out of the squad for today, Bentley being the sub. And then we saw a shift slightly in the formation with Semedo filling in at centre-back, Bueno going into the middle of the back three with Semedo on the right and Gomez on the left, Dawson dropped to the bench. Again, I kind of understand it because of the fact that we've seen Dawson make some terrible back passes recently and put pressure on the goalies in really bad situations and being at fault for certain things, and just it looks like he's kind of all crumbling away from him in a really short space of time in terms of his age, and with all the recent injuries with his groin and everything, maybe things that aren't quite clicking for him. So I understand that in a way, and then having Doc come in with Semedo behind, they are able to switch at any point, and that kind of works because the one can cover the other. So I don't mind that. I understand to an extent. Excuse me, guys, it's late. But then the middle three, we saw Andre Lemina and João Gomez. Again, I don't necessarily like it, but I understand why Gary O'Neill's gone to the three in midfield away from home at West Ham, trying to solidify things. And then with Cunha and Larson up front, and Aït-Nouri kind of knowing that he's got the back three behind him, being allowed to roam further up again. And Lemina occasionally coming across to fill that gap at left back at points. But so it was some interesting choices. The most interesting one being the goalkeeper situation and what is going to go on there with Jose Sarr and who's going to change in January. Are we going to see Johnston stay in the starting lineup? What's going to go on there? I mean, again, a lot of that is going to potentially come down to who the manager is, because this could all change at any point. That's the interesting thing, right, with all of these decisions. First half, I mean, I got some notes from Nathan, even though he couldn't be with me recording today, just saying, and I agree with him. He said that the first half was pretty cagey overall. I'd agree. We saw not a great half of football in the first half. He mentions that, he thought that we defended well overall at that point, with some stand-up performances from Bueno and Totti and Semedo. I think they did okay as a back three overall, but saying that, though, the second goal was just way too much space. But the set piece, though, on the goal, the first goal we conceded, was just, once again, like the most their best player in the air, unmarked, and just a looping header, and everyone just seemed to stand there as it just looped over the top of everyone. It's kind of startling, once again, from a set piece. Absolutely atrocious. And then, as Nathan mentions, the rest of the second half, fairly even, but I mean, they had the ball in the net more than once. Obviously, VAR let us off with the one, which was blatantly offside. But it wasn't a great game. Maybe that's just because we lost and we were playing pretty. I didn't enjoy watching it, probably because of the pressure and the tension that we were all feeling and just wishing that things would go another way. But I think overall, guys, I'm just really depressed right now. I'm really depressed and really disappointed. Once again, Gary Neal in the post-match comments coming out with all of the same usual things about how he's not concerned about his position and it's not up to him, and so he's just cracking on with it, and everyone, all the same lines, everyone's working as hard as they can, everyone's giving all they can, and well, no, they're not, because we're seeing the same mistakes from everyone across the board. I mean, yeah, certain people are trying hard, but we've seen so many mistakes across the team in the last all season, and these lines just aren't doing it. I've had enough. I don't know about you guys. Maybe it's the time of night. Maybe it's the fact I've just come out of watching this game. And yeah, while I gather my thoughts on that, I will just take a moment to remind everyone, this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football and fantasy football, a unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network. Every team, every day. But I guess, guys, yeah, I mean, overall possession was fairly even, West Ham having more of it. They had 19. I mean, amazingly, it doesn't feel like it. Both teams had 19 shots, apparently. It did not feel like that, everyone. 4 shots on target for them, 5 for us, 6 shots off, 7 off for us. I mean, but the corners thing shows you that how much pressure was up our end of the pitch at points 11-0. And just, I'm frustrated that Lopetegui got the win on us. I've been saying all season I would have loved to put his job in more jeopardy by Wolves winning. That didn't happen. We got the equaliser. We concede within moments again. We see this carnage afterwards with Lamina getting in a fight. We hear the same candid lines from Gary Neal on everyone fighting and giving it all they can. We're in a tough spot. I know he makes the points about 200 million odd players, 200 million pound worth of players sold in the last couple of seasons and not much put back in. I get it. But even with that, it still feels like there is enough quality in this team that they are underachieving, and we're seeing so many mistakes. They got rid of the set piece coach, and yet we're still seeing the same mistakes. There's been no change in anything there. The second goal for Bowen, whatever the claims are about in the build-up, foul on Bueno, Bowen's just given so much space to just roam in and get that shot away. And it's just, I mean, is it the time? Are we going to get, by the time anyone hears this downloaded, are we going to see the corner flag? Are we going to see any statements? Are we going to see any updates? Is it going to make any difference? Do we genuinely believe, like Gary Neal said in earlier statements in the past few days, that he hasn't heard from Matt Hubbs or Jeff Shee in regards to his job or anything like that? I kind of don't believe that. And are we just seeing a caretaker manager until they find someone, even if the announcement doesn't come tomorrow? Is it that we are just, because all the discussion is about the fact that there is inroads being made. As I said, they've spoken apparently to the likes of Moyes, who've turned them down. But they don't want another case of, the under-21s coach coming in and managing the situation until it's all sorted. So are we just going to see Gary Neal basically as a caretaker until such time as they get someone who is deemed okay? And if so, is it going to be too late? Is it already too late? From the comments from Will in our little WhatsApp group chat, I'm pretty sure he thinks it's already too late, because I can't really share his comments with you. They are not safe for the airwaves. So take from that what you will in terms of Will's thoughts. I know he'll share them in a later episode this week. But I feel sorry for some of the players. Gomez, you can see he's trying so hard. But again, it just feels at points like some of them now trying so hard that they are doing themselves too much harm almost. Like they're doing, like we spoke last game about Cunha overrunning the ball all the time and trying to do too much, trying to be the hero. And it's getting to a point now where obviously there's desperation and people are making even more mistakes because they're trying too hard to fix it. I thought Semedo was fairly okay at points. I thought Doc actually had, an okay game, having come in from the cold pretty much recently. I know some people think he shouldn't be on the pitch anymore, but I think he did okay, and he got he scored a goal, which he's always got a chance to do if he's in the box. But overall, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And we are in severe trouble, guys. You all know that. If you've made it this far, you know that. And forgive me for the ramble tonight, guys, but something needs to change. Something needs to change. And they need to spend money in January. They need to spend money in January, regardless of who's in charge, whoever it is. They've spoken about a centre-back, but it's got to be more potentially. And it's got to be more if they're going to bring in another manager, because no one is going to take this risk unless they say that they're willing to put their hand in their pocket. Because who is going to take it right now? With the way the team is performing, like a team that looks like it's going to get relegated if they keep playing like this, unless they have sureties that there's going to be money to spend. Because no one is going to take it in the current state with the structure the way it is. That's the problem. And I'm sure that's the problem they're having behind the scenes. And I feel sorry for the new players. I feel sorry for Andre. I feel sorry for Strand Larsen. I feel sorry. I mean, Cunha at the moment looks so depressed, despite the fact he's been nominated for 3 goals of the month in 1 month. If anyone saw his award picture on socials the other day, he looked so glum to be holding an award. And reports are that, talks to improve and extend his contract are on hold through fears of relegation. And again, I don't blame him, because, he's a human being at the end of the day, and I'm sure he doesn't want to play in the Championship, which is where we're going if things aren't fixed. And from what I saw today, things aren't going to be fixed anytime soon. Anytime soon. And so whilst everyone out of darkness does come light, there's no guarantee that the darkness doesn't linger for some length of time. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. But how long is the tunnel? That's the question. How long is the tunnel? And what needs to change before we near the sunshine? I don't know. I'm going to go to sleep and try not to think about that too much and hope that tomorrow brings some news, some change, something to change our week. And maybe it won't be football related. Maybe you'll all have just an amazing time getting the build up for Christmas. But whatever it is, something needs to be done. Otherwise, at this rate, team, I can see us losing to Ipswich. And I am usually Mr. Positivity on this podcast. But that is honestly how I feel at this point in time. It's honestly how I feel. So I hope you have a good Tuesday, people, by the time you hear this. I hope you have a better week than we are feeling like we're going to have right now. All right, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you hopefully with one of the others, if not all of us, soon, so that they can put together some more sense than I'm able to make in the state of depression post-match that I'm giving to you right now. Take care.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.